Hey beautiful people, welcome back to my channel. I'm back again with another video. My name is Busisiwe Dlamini Harodi, the campaign principal. With the previous video, if you have watched it, you've seen I was explaining on how do we get an LJ graph. So basically it was about quality control on how actually we measure if whatever result that we are sending out of a patient to a doctor is of quality and it's representative of what exactly is happening in a patient's body, so that treatment can be able to resume and actually proper treatment based on what the patient will be having. So firstly, what I'm going to start with the Wesgard rules. So basically what Wesgard rules are, they are multi-role rules, QC rules, that we usually use to measure if the analytical run is in control or out of control. So we apply these rules on our LJs to determine whether is it safe to send out our results or not. So usually there is 5 rules. I have them here. So what these rules mean, what I would say to you, for you to be able to always remember them, or for them to be easier to remember, is that the value or the number that is before this will always represent the number of points on an LJ graph, and then the value and the alphabet, which will be the S next to it, will represent the SD. So what this first rule, what it means is that there is 1 point that is outside 2 SD. So it can either be plus 2 SD or minus 2 SD. So what basically it means is that it is outside 2 SD. So that's how easy you can be able to remember the Wesgard rules. And then this one, what it says is that there is 1 point outside plus minus 3 SD as well, because there is one value that is 1 before there, then the 3S, now it's going to represent your SD. And then as well, before we continue with the other ones, what we do is that as well, once we have seen these rules being violated, so they also do tell us something, that must we, if we see that on our LJ graph, must we accept it or must we reject it? So with this first rule, basically what it means, it is just a warning. So on your LJ graph, when you see a point that is outside either the plus 2 SD or the minus 2 SD, you just know that it's a warning. So it means you can continue to run. You can continue to run and send out patient results. Whereas with the 1-3S, so when your point is outside the plus minus 3 SD, it is a rejection. So what basically this means is that you can't continue to run. So it means you can't send out the patient results. You have to try to troubleshoot to make sure that your controls, they are in control, and then before you can be able to continue with your patients. And then this second rule, the third rule, so this one, it means there is 2 points. So it's going to be 2 consecutive points that are outside the 2 SD. And then this is also a rejection as well. Means once you see this, you can't continue to run. You have to troubleshoot. It means your QC is out of control. And then the 4-1S rule, what it says is that you have 4 consecutive points that are outside the 1 SD. It can either be a positive or a minus 1 SD, and then this is also a rejection. So as well, you can't continue to run when this rule is violated. So it means your QC is out of control. And then we also have the 10x. So basically the 10x, what it means is that you have 10 consecutive points on the same side of the mean. It can either be the positive side or the negative side. So basically this is a bias, and according to Wesgard, this is also a rejection. So you cannot continue to run. And then there is another rule, the fifth one, which is the R4S rule. Where am I going to write it? Is the R4S rule. Basically what it means is that you have two control measurements in a group that exceed a mean with a 4 standard deviation. So it's when you have two controls or consecutive points that exceed the mean with 4 standard deviation. So it's two consecutive points that exceeds the mean with 2 standard deviations, and it is also a rejection as well. So if you can see that out of all the 5 Wesgard rules that we usually allow or use for our QCLJ charts, there's only one of them that is a warning, which is a 1 to S, whereby here we would still continue to run and send out patient results, whereas with all the other 4, they are all rejections. And then what they mean is that we can't send out patient results, we have to troubleshoot. Let me show you this in a graph or in an LJ graph so that you can be able to see what I'm talking about quickly. So just to summarize them, you can also learn them in a graph as I'll do right now. So this is the mean, minus 1 is D, minus 2 is D, minus 3 is D. So it's plus 1 is D, plus 2 is D, and plus 3 is D. So the first rule that we learned about is that you have 1 point that is outside the 2SD. So here is the 2SD. So it means you have, let's say you have a point here, because again here on your x-axis you're going to have the number of days or the dates for the dates that you'll be running your QC material. So there is your 1, 2S. And then the other one that we learned, it was the 1, 3S. So there is the 3SD. So it means now you are going, let's say on day number 3, you have a point there that is outside the 3SD. So this is the 1, 3S. And then we also learned about the 2, 2S. So on day 4, you have 2 consecutive points that are outside the 2SD. So it's the 2, 2S. So it means on the 5th and also on the 4th and your 5th day, your QC was outside 2SD. So you have 2 points, which is also a rejection. And then now let's say you have it says 4 points, the other one outside 1SD. So let's say now on the 6th, let's say you ran twice, and on the 7th you also ran twice, and then you have 4 consecutive points that are outside the 1SD. So you violated that rule. And then the other rule that we learned about, it is the 10x rule. it's when you have, so I'm just going to put them here, 10 consecutive points on the same side of the mean. So this is your 10x, you have 10 points on the same side of the mean. And another one that we learned about is the R4X, whereby you have 2 consecutive points that exceed the 4SD. So let's say you have a point here, or you can have a point here on 2SD today, and then the next day the QC jumps to the plus. So it was on your minus 2SD, and then now it jumps the next day to the plus 2SD. So this is the R4S. So it means it exceeds 4 standard deviations. So as you can see, it's going to exceed as 1, 2, 3, 4. So it exceeds 4 standard deviations. So that is the R4S rule. And like I said, all these rules, most of them, they are rejection, except the 1, 2S, which is a warning. So basically, this is what I wanted to share. But as well, when it comes to you either accepting your QC or not accepting it, just make sure that you always follow your lab's protocol. Because some labs, they did do some little bit of amendment to the Wesgard rules. So as well, try to check if your lab uses the Wesgard rules as they are, or maybe there's certain ones that they have amendments. Like with the 1-2S, there are some labs with the 1-2S is not a warning, it's also a rejection for them. So they won't just accept the results. So you need to also look at that. So basically, those are the Wesgard rules. So thank you so much for joining me on this one. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment down below. And if you also have any comments that you want to put in, if you need anything else, just comment there. I'll be glad to be able to interact with you. From me up until the next video, too.